Hello and welcome to Digital Energy Technology section of the SPE. I have the pleasure today to welcome Dr. Reinhard Geissbauer, a partner with PwC and the Global Head of Digital Operations, for a very special interview. Reinhard, very welcome to DETS.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Yeah, Reinhard and me have been working quite a few times already together, and I'm very happy that he is here today and will give us a few insights on what's up on everybody's plate today when it comes to digital transformation and digital transformation strategies. And that's actually my first question, Reinhard. So what's the flavor of the day? What's the three top topics that we have to have on any digital transformation strategy today?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Patrick, thanks for the question. I think first of all, let's acknowledge that digital transformation has become really the cornerstone of a lot of the strategies in the oil and gas market, be it upstream, midstream, also on the downstream side. And especially in that area, of course, there's a couple of functions that are in focus. It is, of course, the integrated planning and the optimization of that on the exploration side. It is also a lot of the operations that are in focus, for example, on the health, safety, security animal, on the smart operations of the sites itself, all the way to digital support functions. So the digital transformation in the oil and gas industry has become one of the key topics of the day. Now to your question, when you say, what are some of the elements that any digital top strategy should have? We basically see four elements that are key. Number one, of course, you need to set your digital strategy yourself. You need to understand and decide what is your footprint to be in the future, which sites to explore, how to organize your logistics, and all of the elements that come with it. And of course, decide what type of digital elements you want to put into each of your functions. On the second level, a top-notch digital transformation strategy does have an element where it comes to defining the IoT or data platform with which you work. As you know, with many of the companies have the problem that their data is very unorganized and not really consistent, to have that overlaying IoT platform, be it in form of an MES, manufacturing execution system, be it that you do have the right connectivity, or also, of course, to make sure that you have the right cybersecurity elements in place, is important, so that on the top level, you basically run your operations efficiently, and you also manage your data, which is, if you will, the lifeblood of the future economy here, and the digital economy, that you really run that data smartly throughout all of your operations. On the third level, then, you go to the shop floor itself, to the operations, to the sites, to the platforms where you argue. And here, of course, you apply digital solutions, be it the most famous digital twin, where you basically have a digital twin of your operations to better and smoothly run this one. You might have AGVs, you might have, cobots, drones, other technologies that you run, all the way to also connecting your workforce with digital assets, be it, an explosion-proven iPad, or be it, more sophisticated equipment. All of these elements that basically form your digital solutions, from smart maintenance all the way to a better logistics, they have to be integrated and basically form the third pillar of your digital strategy. And last but not least, you need to look at your employees, at your workforce, and say, are we having the right organizational setup? For example, do we have data scientists in the right position? But also, even more, we see that a digital transformation only has a chance to be successful if you manage your employees smartly. You see that the employees understand that the digital transformation is a benefit to them, gives them an opportunity to grow, and of course also, encourage them to take digital training in order to master all of the requirements at stake. So these are the four elements that we see today when it comes to a digital strategy.
Sounds very interesting, and I actually say I like it a lot, because I was always concerned when strategies have this very high level fluffy attitude, and what you describe with what's your footprint, what are you actually doing, what's the technologies you can use, and how do you take care of people. That sounds very tangible, which was always important to me when working on digital strategies, on digital transformation strategies. So I like it a lot. And I like especially what you said in the beginning with what's your footprint and what are you working on, because this is what I believe is when you start talking to people out in the field and you try to figure out what's their problem and you solve these problems, which actually boils down to some of the winning recipes of the digital majors, which is client obsession and digital products. And so I like that aspect very much. One thing I'd like to pick on is data. Because from my experience, that's one of the most difficult things, or that turns out to be one of the most difficult things. Because, I mean, every organization has an org structure, right? You're used to going to the intranet and reading an organizational structure. And at the same terms, you will find operational manuals and procedures. That's a totally typical thing. But how many companies have a totally consistent data model? So in how many companies you have an organizational structure, a process level, and then you have a whole data logic that goes across organizational structures and processes? That'd be interesting for me to understand how mature is our world, the oil and gas world, actually there.
Yes, a very, very good question, Patrick. And to answer that question, let's look 20 years back. And I don't know, I mean, you have been around the block for a couple of years, same as I have. But you know, if you remember, even 20 years ago, when you looked at the largest supercomputers in the industry, they were not installed in Silicon Valley, but they were installed already in the oil and gas industry. So historically, I think the oil and gas industry was actually a master of collecting data, from the exploration side, from the operations side, and so on and so on. So the problem is not the awareness of the importance of data, but where really the oil and gas industry fell short in the last 20 years. And please excuse me, I don't want to put this in general. There are of course great companies out there, but many companies have failed to, on the one hand side, actually organize the data, the vast data that was available, to put them in a structure that they can be used from various functions. And what is even more important, what we call big data analytics today. So basically finding and making sense out of the data, finding smart algorithms, and turning those data into effective decisions. This is where many companies today still fall short. And this is not only a question of having smart data scientists in their ranks and making sure that they understand how to work the data. But in my understanding, or my opinion, a lot of the problems that we see with our oil and gas clients is that they have data available in abundance, but they are not organized in one central pool. They don't interact with each other. They are in different systems. So it's the cleaning of the data. It's into putting them into one consistent data model where everybody can access it, and then to smartly analyze it and use it to make the right decision. This, I think, that is really failing today. And that is the big challenge that the oil and gas industry has it if they want to be successful in running data efficient decisions going forward.
Yeah, thanks, Reinhard, for reminding me how long I'm already in the business and how old I am.
Of course, you have been, many, many years, shorter than I have, but but this is what the reality has been, I think. Yeah, and Patrick, just a question. I mean, you have been in the field, for 5 years or so. I know, yeah, just to be, but just on that side, I mean, what is it really for your company, that is really driving the digitization? Yeah, is it the data? Is it other aspects? I'm just curious, because that is, I think, an important factor as well.
I think, as said before, what is a major element for me is really digital products and user centricity. But you're totally right. I mean, the data is one of the cornerstones, and it's one of the elements that makes it extremely difficult. And you're also right when you say that the oil and gas industry has always managed huge amounts of data. I mean, our industry was the #1 consumer of tapes and magnetic tapes to record seismic data. And we are, I think, only recently outperformed by consumers because everybody starts to stream or to take 4 or 8K videos and put them on the cloud. But as you rightly said, the difference is that our data are all over the place. So getting that consistent is a huge task. I mean, we have the OSDU movement that is going exactly in this direction of getting one data structure. But what I feel is that especially the role of a chief data officer in a company that drives this forward is extremely important. And one aspect I've been thinking about was very much along the lines of how can I make data more an asset? So how can I say that, hey, in a few years' time, I have data on my balance sheet, and data kind of have a different value on my balance sheet depending if they are interconnected or if they are not interconnected. These are thoughts I'm spinning my head around of making data, and as you rightly said, integrate data valuable, because this is where I draw the right conclusions.
Mm-hmm. Let me just take this thought one step further, Patrick, because you're 100% right there. Let's take the automotive industry just for a second. As you know, I mean, Elon Musk just a couple of days has become the richest man on earth, yeah, in bypassing Jeff Bezos, because the Tesla share, I think, has crossed about the $900 mark now. And Tesla today is about $600 billion worth, about 3 times of Toyota, which is the largest automotive manufacturer. And this is not because Tesla sells so many cars, but Tesla has achieved a thought on how they use data in an industry dramatically different, with new services, with a new way of building cars, and a new way of running their business. And again, there's always, you know, difficulties to show to analogies, but I think any oil and gas company should think very carefully to say, is there a chance that we can become a more data-driven, a more digital organization, and increase our value, our brand, maybe the stock price, by loading up our brand with digital assets, with digital services, with a mastering of data in a smart way? I think there's not only value in doing better operations with it, but it would also increase the overall value and the perception of a company in the corporate world. And that should be a target I think everybody should strive.
And you're hitting, I think, a very interesting and important point here. And I think that goes back to some of the thoughts we were spinning earlier. And this is about disruption. I mean, obviously, Elon Musk is about to disrupt the car industry, and I think Apple is moving into the same direction. And I think it was Hyundai whose stock price just jumped up by 10 or 15% because people suspect that they're going to work together with Apple on a car. I mean, in all the years that we've been now doing digital transformation in the oil and gas industry, I think we haven't seen really a disruption of the exploration, development, production life cycle or value chain. But we see quite some disruption starting in the service industry, in the software suppliers, in kind of like the laterals to it. So where would you see the chance for really an E&P company to load them up with digital competence or with digital market value?
Mm-hmm. I think there are 3 areas I think that companies need to look at. I mean, essentially, yeah, an E&P company will remain very much, focused on their assets, and this will not change. I think the backbone of the company will remain the assets that they have. So I think on the first step, they need to really run their operations much more digital. As I said before, they need to use data to make smarter decisions. On the exploration side, to make better moves and better drills. On the operations of a platform or of a site, yeah, to run maintenance more efficient, to increase the quality, to get logistics costs down. There's so much potential to run operations efficiently if you use data, smart algorithms to make those decisions. I think that is really immense, and many companies have not really driven that kind of opportunity to an optimal fulfillment. So that's number one. It's the operations improvement using digital. The second one is that you need to think smartly with all of your partners in an ecosystem on how you want to run your operations with them. There are companies, of course, helping you on the exploration side. There are companies helping you on the service side. And you need to be very smart now, I think, as an E&P company to say, what is it that is really the core of my business that I need to do in a digital fashion going forward? And where do I have partners that maybe make this even more efficient and better? And how do I build an ecosystem in order to really run this smartly and effectively? And third, any company, especially if you're going towards the downstream side, of course, also has customers that they need to work with. And customer requirements and customer needs are changing as well. And you need to make and use data smartly to better understand what are some of the customer requirements that are changing, what are some of the needs that are coming up, and how you better respond to these also going forward. So it is really the operations where you need to digitize. It is your ecosystem of operations where you need to optimize. And it is also the interaction with your clients, and not only with the requirements, but everything, also from, I know many companies who are exchanging with their clients loads of paperwork still and signatures and things like that. It's simple things like digitizing those, order management and others that also can drive value on the digital side. These are the three areas that I would put in focus.
And digital ecosystems is a topic I love, and I think we could talk another hour about digital ecosystems. But let me stick to Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk of this world. I mean, if you read through their books and their posts and their letters to shareholders, you get the impression that if you want to be successful in digitalization or in the digital arena, then you have to turn the company culture upside down. You have to give freedom to everybody, and you stop reporting on quarterly sales numbers. Is it really true? And I mean, is that realistic for a classical grown industry like oil and gas?
Yes. I mean, Patrick, I think that most oil and gas company, we'd feel uncomfortable if every would run around with yellow tennis shoes and look at or sit on funny furniture and things like that. I mean, there is of course a certain element to, of course, the digital world as it is lived in the Silicon Valley, that probably is not smart for the oil and gas industry to just simply replicate and saying, hey, we are also now hip and up and running. But I think what is key and what the oil and gas industry can learn from these companies in the Silicon Valley and in many other areas in the world is that they need to fundamentally change the culture of their organization. Let me give you two examples. I think digital transformation requires, next to, of course, having a certain training and idea and understanding about the value of data and how you do data analytics and so on, but even more than that requires a certain mindset. Let me give you one example, the idea of failing fast. If you want to drive digital solutions, it is key that you are trying out many things, and as soon as you see, hey, this is not going in the right direction, cut your losses, go out and go to something else. I've worked with many oil and gas companies who have spent years and years drilling in the wrong spots again and again, because somebody was afraid to say, we made a mistake, we failed, let's go somewhere else. It's this mentality of failing fast, failing or of wrong direction is a value and not a threat. That, of course, is fundamentally going against everything that the oil and gas industry was living for the last 20 years. And therefore, the cultural change towards a digital transformation mindset, a new culture saying we are openly discussing, everybody's ideas are valued, we are not thinking in silos, but thinking cross-functional. These are things that many oil and gas companies have a hard time to adjust to. And I think that's probably the key thing that is necessary in order to be successful in the digital world in the future.
Yeah,
Patrick, let me also ask you, because you have been in this arena for a long time. What is your opinion on that? How important is it to bring people on board to motivate them on the digital transformation run? Is that key for success, and how do you do this in your organization?
Yeah, getting people on board is obviously a key element. And I think it comes back to what we discussed in the beginning. It's user centricity and digital products. Is this solve somebody's problem, make it tangible. Also, don't be fluffy high up in the sky, but be very clear in your strategy about what's my footprint, what are we really doing, what is this all about, where do I make money? The more tangible it is, the easier it is for people to onboard. Let me just quickly reflect on the idea of failing fast. That is obviously very true. On the other side, I sometimes have the feeling the oil industry isn't that bad at failing fast. I mean, we are totally capable of wasting a few $100 billion, but just drilling a well somewhere and figuring out it was the wrong spot. But something that goes along with failing fast, which I found very interesting when reading through a lot of these insights on the big successful companies, is this: how much of a fuss do I have to make around a decision which is actually not really critical? So how much committees and checks and ticks do I need to make a decision that costs money but has actually no irreversible effect on the company? I found that very interesting. But let me allow me to get back on the learning aspect, because that's something that everybody of us is interested in. What would be your advice to any oil and gas engineer out there? How do you get prepared for the increasingly digital future?
Mm-hmm. Again, I think there's three topics I think that are key for success when it comes to training. Number one, it is really the management of data, whether you call it data science or data analytics. It is basically the capability to organize, to clean, and then to analyze data that I think is one of the key skills that companies need to run and improve on. And that does not mean that every engineer needs to be a master data scientist. That's not what I'm proposing. But at least every engineer out there needs to have a basic understanding on the power of data, how they can be used, and what kind of algorithms you would like to have for your specific area, whether you're on the exploration side or whether you're on the operations side. What kind of data would you like to use and analyze in order to make better decisions? So that is number one, and that's for me the key capability, if you will, that you need to have. Second, I think every engineer or every person really working in the industry needs to have a basic understanding of the technologies that are out there. They need to understand what is an AGV and what can an AGV and an automatic guided vehicle really do on a shop floor or not. What are the capabilities and where are also the limitations of that idea? When you go to 3D printing, to at least have an idea, are there all spare parts that I can print? What kind of materials are out there, and how do I use this smartly? If I go to predictive maintenance of assets, what are areas that are smart to work on digital and on data? Where is it not sensible to have a staggered maintenance approach? Where do I need to stay to certain rules and so on? So there needs to be a basic understanding about what kind of digital technologies are out there, and they're all basically available now. They are almost commodity, if you will, and how to basically use those. And the third element, I mentioned that quickly in the beginning, is that there needs to be a digital mindset that says, let's move away from hierarchies, let's move away from 15 signature on every document that I have, but let's give some freedom to the people, for example, in the R&D and the development process. There are, of course, all these, principles of agile development, of teams, of Scrum beats, of all of these ideas there. Not all of them are great, but also not all of them are bad. And I think that, especially in the oil and gas industry, I think many companies would benefit if they adopt, for example, agile development ideas much more stringent and much more rigidly than they do today. So it's these three elements of basic data understanding, of a good understanding of the underlying technologies, and also the methods of agile working and of digital transformation that I think key when it comes to training.
Thanks, Reinhard. Yeah, agile is a lovely buzzword, but I think you're totally right. I mean, we made great experiences, and it was interesting for us to understand how to embark on a journey of agile project management, understanding that agile is about complex problems, while waterfall is about difficult problems. That was an extremely interesting learning. Reinhard, I'd like to thank you for that interview. It was great to hear from you, your insights into oil and gas and digital transformation. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure, Patrick. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you. My name is Patrick Pattay, and I'm the chairman of the Digital Transformation Committee of DETS, the Digital Energy and Technology section of DSP. See you for our next interview. Thank you and goodbye.